Hey Thunderbolts, it's me, Static The Hedgehog here. Today on Friday, I read the next history of the SATAM characters. And forgive me that I read not quite well because words can be difficult sometimes. But anyway, that is all for now and let us begin. So, the next character today is Princess Sally Acorn. Sally was born into a royal family ruling the kingdom of Mobotropolis in 3219 as the daughter of the king. From childhood, she was raised to take over the throne. Her father taught Sally their family secret, greed, and she was over by her nanny, Rosie. Sally also grew up with Sonic, whose behavior sometimes irritated her. At home, at home point, she also revived a portable computer known as Nicole. In 3224, however, at the age of 5, Sally had to flee to Nicole Village after Dr. Robotic took over Mobotropolis. For the next several years, Sally was a member of the Northhold Freedom Fighters and led a number of the activity against Robotnik, who occupied Robotropolis. She also set herself the goal of finding her father, who had not been seen after Robotnik's coup. While in Knockhope Village, Sally and Rotor worked on building catapults, but they lacked parts. As such, Sally sent Sonic, with whom Tails went along with the Robotropolis to get the parts they needed. Although Sally would worry about Sonic and Tails, they finally came back during the night, and only to warn everyone that the Boss Bomber Squadron was approaching the Great Force with a chemical agent that will expose the Knockhold. Making a plan for a counterattack, Sally decided to use their finished catapults and loaded with water balloons to fight off the boss bombers. This plan ultimately succeeded and Knockhold was safe, and Sally returned with Sonic to the forest. During a mission, the Robotropolis to salvage Dr. Robotnik's steel bots, Sally hacked one of the SWAT bots and rode it into the hangar in Robotropolis, where she met Sonic, Antoine, and Cat. When she went for the steel bot, Sonic came with her. Using Nicole, Sally hacked into a computer where she revived the Measures Bean from Iron Lock Prison in the Dark Swamp. Sally decided to go there with Antoine, suspecting that the message came from her father. Meanwhile, Sonic chose to stay in Robotropolis to save Cat, who had been captured. After arriving in the Dark Swamp, Sally and Antoine found a suspicious bridge leading to an iron lock prison. Although the bridge was shaky, they managed to get over it and get inside the prison. There, Sonic will join them soon after. Eventually, the heroes found a computer which Sally gained access to using the code word Bean. However, after Sally revived the meshes, which turns out to be a map of tunnel network underneath Robotropolis, a trapdoor was activated and the heroes fell into a sewers. There, they were attacked by a monster that Sonic managed to destroy. Afterward, Sally and Co. discovered that the monster was just a robot. From here, Sally led Sonic and Antoine back to the Steelbot's hangar using the map she had revived. After sabotaging the Steelbots, Sally escaped the Robotropolis with Antoine and Sonic. When Robotnik then sent the Steelbots after them, they were destroyed due to Sally having changed their programming. Sally later took part in the attack on Robotropolis, SWATbot factory along with Sonic and Bonnie. Sally in the particular took control of the bombs Sonic planted around the factory, but before, before she could detonate them, the SWATbots surrounded her. Sally was captured and imprisoned by Robotnik, who uses to her create an evil robot doppelganger, whose mission was to destroy Sonic and his friends. Sally was then set in robotic size, but the robotic sizer malfunctioned and Sniffly had to wait until the next day before Sally could get roboticized. The next day, however, Sonic rescued Sally and he had Sallybot take her place in the roboticizer. After running to the knockhole, Sally with Tails, who had felt sad about Sallybot's presence in the knockhole. Sally comforted Tails though by showing him that she was the real Sally by giving him the funny kiss. Sally then gave a suspicious Sonic a kiss too, although that did little to pursue the playful Sonic. Sometime later, Sally and Sonic infiltrated Robotropolis in an attempt to sabotage the Robocizer, but Sniffly soon detected them and called in the SWAT bots. During the heroes' subsequent escape, they met up with Antoine, Bonnie, and Rotor. Together with them, they went to the Crystal Mine in order to rescue Sonic Robocized Uncle Chuck, whom Sally and Sonic has been board in a train heading to the Crystal Mine. After capturing Chuck, Sally had the idea of using Spowring to restore Chuck's free will and mind, which worked. Sally and her friends then team up with Chuck, who revealed that they needed their help to stop the extraction of a massive energy crystal by Robotnik Force, or Mobius' ecosystem would be destroyed. Together with Rotor and Antoine, Sally got into control room, where they managed to turn off the robot guarding the room. Sally and her friends then tried to sabotage the crane that was pulling the energy crystal out of the mine. After the energy crystal was destroyed, Sally and the others escaped back to the train. However, they had to leave Chuck behind, as soon reverted back to an aggressive workbot once more and could thus hurt their escape from the SWAT bots. While escaping on board the train, Sally confronted Sonic, who felt terrible about abandoning his uncle. Sally and the other Knuckle freedom fighter later built a Freedom Stormer airplane for the purpose of flying the ruins of Mega, where they could find the secret scrolls. Sonic, however, objecting using this shaky airplane and decided to run to Mega on his own, while Sally, Rotor, Antoine, and Bonnie flew there by the plane. When they took off in the Freedom Stormer, however, they almost crashed, but the Rotor managed to stabilize the airplane. When Sally and Co. later landed near Mega, Sonic kept them from slipping off a cliff. In the ruins of Mega, Sally used Nickel to translate various inscriptions and puzzles that gradually led them to the secret scrolls. Sally also discovered how to solve some of them. When they reached to tamper with the scrolls, they were given a choice between two sets of scrolls. Fortunately, Sally picked the right one, but then Dr. Robotnik, Sniffly, and the SWAT appeared to take the secret scrolls for themselves. Sonic managed to distract Robotnik and his foes, however, giving Sally and the others a chance to escape. After ruining with Sonic, who was being pursued by a surveillance orb, Sally decided to use the secret scrolls, which spoke a wind tunnel called the Breath of Mobius that was somewhere in the ruins. Sonic thus lured Robotnik and his robot to the breath of Mobius, where the villains were blown off a cliff by the strong wind emerging from the breath of Mobius. With the scroll in hand, Sally and the freedom fighter decided to fly back to Noko, except this time Sonic was plotting the Freedom Stormer. When Nicole began to malfunction, Sally had to get a spare parts for her. She thus went to Robotropolis with Sonic. There, Sonic occupied the SWAT pods while Sally snuck into one of the factories and took the parts she needed. However, she was detected by one of the robots who activated the alarm. Chased by the SWAT bots, Sally escaped the Forbidden Zone where Laterzzz the Guardian destroyed the SWAT bots. Sally later met up with Sonic and told him that the Forbidden Zone was the resetting place of the wizard Laterzzz. Despite Sally's warning, Sonic went to the Forbidden Zone to acquire Laterzz's computer with spells that could prove beneficial to the freedom fighters. Sally later helped Bonnie and Rotor with Knuckle new water wheel, but she's still worried about Sonic. Suddenly though, she and Bonnie could teleport to Robotnik, who had obtained Laterzz's computer and uses its teleportation spell to bring them to them. Sally and Bonnie were subsequently hypnotized by Robotnik with the power of Laterzz's computer. When Sonic then came to get the computer, Robotnik ordered Sally and Bonnie to bring Sonic to the robot Sizer. Sonic, however, escaped them. While Sally and Bonnie tried to catch him, Sonic regained Laterzz's computer and canceled the spells cast by Robotnik. With Sally and Bonnie now free, they fled Sonic the Forbidden Zone. There, they turned the computer to Laterzzz and said goodbye to him before he departed. Sally and her friends returned to Knuckle, where Rotor showed them that their new water wheel was now operational. Sally, Bonnie, and Sonic will later destroy Robotropolis' power generator. However, it turned out that Robotnik had a backup generator ready, devastating Sally's spirit. Soon after, Sally, Sonic, and Tails revived information about the race that Robotnik had organized in Robotropolis. While Sally thought it was a trap, Sonic decided to participate in the order to distract Robotnik forces. Will and his friends went after Robotnik's backup generator. Despite Sally reviving consolation from Bonnie thoughts, she continued to worry about Sonic's safety. Later on, the day of the race, Sonic races Robotnik machine while Sally, Bonnie, and Antoine were looking for the backup generator. When they found out, Antoine tried to sabotage it. Only they end up on a conveyor belt taking him and towards some gears to get across. Fortunately, Sonic came to his rescue where saved Antoine and destroyed the generator by inserting a power ring into gears. After the generator was destroyed, the heroes returned to Knuckle, where Sally announced Sonic's heroic deeds. Sally and freedom fighters will later watch Sonic destroy Shredder when it began cutting down the Great Forest. After returning to Knuckle, Sally kisses Sonic and went for a walk with him. However, Sally later discovered that Antoine had disappeared with a power ring. Rotor then explained that he, in attempt to help Antoine think of a way to impress Sally, jokingly suggested that he could capture Robotnik. Realizing that Antoine was attempting just that, Sally convinced Sonic to go save Antoine. Ultimately, Antoine was rescued by Sonic and the two returned to Knuckle. But Sally did not want to hear Antoine's story about how he saved Sonic. Later, Sally and the other freedom fighters were waking up during the night when he rocket booster to crashes near Knuckle, guessing that this engine was a part of one robotic plant. Sally took a look through her telescope and saw Robotnik and had to send space station into space. Sally then managed to intercept Robotnik radio signals, which revealed that the space station called by Sky Spy was equipped with spy sensors for locating Knuckle. In an effort to neutralize the Sky Spy, the heroes modulated the rocket booster so it could fly Sonic and Rotor in space. Once that was done, Sally started the engine for Sonic and Rotor, allowing them to take off. After Sonic and Rotor came back, Sally noticed that the Sky Spy has been almost destroyed, but it was now on a collision course with Mobius, meaning it caused some serious damage if it landed in the wrong place. After showing her friend the Sky Spy discount, Sally suggested that Rotor uses Super Magnet to control Sky Spy's course. Following Sally's idea, Sonic and Rotor made the Sky Spy crash into the Wasters. Afterwards, Sally praised Sonic and Rotor for their effort and presence of all the freedom fighters. Eventually, Sally captured one Robotnik broadcast, which revealed that he planned to collect chemicals from the island of Nimbus from this cloud buster and then fill the whole atmosphere with chemicals that would turn into a toxic rain. Dressing up as a SWAT bot, Sally, Bonnie, and Antoine went to sabotage the cloud buster, while Sonic was sent to his island of Nimbus to check it out. After infiltrating the cloud buster, Sally tried to use Nickel to sabotage its brain. However, she and her friends ended up getting captured by his SWAT boss and brought to Sniffly. He then drove Sally, Bonnie, and Antoine to the island of Nimbus, where Dr. Robotnik confronted the heroes and locked them in a cage in order to lure Sonic into a trap. When Sonic finally came to their rescue, however, the Cloudbuster had already begun to spraying its chemicals into the atmosphere. Meanwhile, Sonic, who had recently suffered a horrific nightmare, was too scared to doing anything. Sally, however, snapped Sonic out of his nightmare days, and the Hedgehog managed to destroy the Cloudbuster. Afterward, he handed Sally a power wing, which she and her friends used to disrupt the energy bars for their cage, thus allowing them to escape their cage. Sally, Sonic, and Antoine Bonnie then escaped from the island of Nimbus, which subsequently sank into a river. Later, Sally, Sonic, and Antoine would destroy the traffic control center in the Robotropolis. During their subsequent escape, however, they were surrounded by SWAT bots. Fortunately, they were saved by a Griff, who led them to Lower Mobius, an underground city under the Robotropolis. There, the heroes helped out some red bots, which were the plaguing the inhabits. Later, Griff, Antoine, and Sonic were competed for Sally's affection. When Antoine and Sonic begged to square, however, Sally broke them up and decided to stick with Griff. Eventually, Griff drove Sally and her friends back to with great force, only for his office light to seemingly break down after arriving there. Sally does forget that Griff could spend the night in the knuckle, which he accepted. During the following evening, Sally tried to show his Griff to a lake of wings, but Antoine insisted that they stayed off the premise well, and he was on the guard duty. Ignored Antoine, Sally showed his Griff where they got their powers ring from. Afterwards, later on, Sally wrote teased Sonic, who was jealous of Griff. However, Sally discovered that Griff had been manipulating her and had fled with the power rock from the Lake of Rings. Eventually, Sonic will return most of the power ring, having given a fragment of this Griff after reconciling with him. While trying to tend to trees that had planted in the Great Forest, Sally noticed that the sprouts were dying. When Sonic later returned from fishing, however, he would spill some strange green water from the Great River out of his ears, which caused plants to grow rapidly. Descending to get more of this water, Sally went along with Sonic, Antoine, and Rotor and a journey down to the Great River. During the cruise, they were drowned into a contaminated underground lake by the whirlpool. Soon after, Antoine went missing. Regardless, Sally and her remaining friends sailed on, hoping to find Antoine. Eventually, they came across increasingly and polluted water and then a waterfall. As they went over the waterfall, however, Sonic managed to push their boat back up the waterfall and into a branching river, and protecting Sally to kiss Sonic for his efforts. There, however, their boat began to sink into boiling water. Fortunately, Sally and her friends managed to climb up and dry land using vines growing from the ceiling. Soon after, they came across underground flowers that they wanted to bite them. While Sonic dealt with the plants, however, Sally was kidnapped by the Kraken and trapped into a pool, along with Antoine and later Sonic, which she was slowly sinking into. Fortunately, she was safe when the Rotor came and got a power ring to Sonic, who in turn got his friends out of the pool. Sally and her friends then met the Kraken, who turned out to have been trying to kill them because he believed them to be behind the pollution that he had infected on the Cloud Kingdom. In turn, the heroes explained that they weren't behind the pollution caused by no one else but Dr. Robotnik. Soon after thoughts, the Kraken got bound by the snake props, putting the Sonic the head up to the surface to stop the snake props. There, he managed to destroy Robotnik's drilling platform, which was polluting the Kraken's kingdom. Afterwards, Rotor purified the water in the underground kingdom and using some green water he had found. As thanks for their help, the Kraken gave Sally and Co. a gift to help them with their plans. Returning afterward the knuckle, Sally used the Kraken gift to revive their plans. Sometime after, Sally was helping Rotor in just Bonnie Leg's ladders. Later, Sally was harvesting apples with her friends when Tails came and led them to a baby theropod named Baby T, whom he has just met. Knowing that the knuckle was not the place for Baby T, Sally said that he should return to his herd. When she said the herd later passed by the knuckle, Sally noticed that the theropods, who were on their yearly migrations to Boulder Bay, were migrating in the wrong direction. After Sonic stopped the herd, Sally found Mama T and tried to translate her speech with Nico. Sally, Sonic, and Tails, Rota, and Bonnie decided later to help lead two theropods on their migration to Boulder Bay. Upon reaching the Great Jungle though, the heroes noticed that the Steelbots and Robotnik hovercraft was approaching. As such, the heroes fled together with the theropods into a great jungle. Along the way, Sonic was catched around the leg by a vine that pulled him over the mud pool. Sally, Bonnie, and Rotor tried to give Sonic some solid footing to land on by trying to push a tree trunk into the mud pool, but they moved away so that Mama T could do it for them, which in turn saved Sonic in time. During their subsequent journey, however, the heroes were attacked by the Steelbots. Sally and her friend Toast fled on the back of the Mama T and Baby T, only for Robotnik to trap them inside the force field. Fortunately, Sally and her friends managed to escape after Sonic made a hole in the force field with a power ring and empowered super spin. Escaping to the river, Sally outfitted Mama T with a translate so that they could ask for advice. Using Mama T's knowledge of the Great Jungle, the hero soon managed to lose Robotnik. Afterwards, Sally collected a few seeds from the scorch plants, a type plant that could destroy metal, so they could grow them in the knuckle and uses them against Robotnik. Soon after, the heroes arrived at the Boulder Bay, making Sally realize that the theropods were migrating in the right directions all along. Then, in order to make it easier for Tails to part with Baby T, Sally put a translator on Baby T, thus allowing those friends to understand one another as they parted ways. Sally, Sonic will later collect the parts for the new robotic sniper from a destroyed hover unit. While at work, Sonic rescued Sally when Ant almost crossed her by the accident with her hover unit remains. While searching, the heroes also found the magnetic field generator. When Tails then informed them of the approaching SWAT-bots, Sally told Sonic to bring them to her. When the SWAT-bots later arrived, Sally activated the magnetic they had found, causing the SWAT-bots to catapult towards the magnetic and get destroyed. Later in the evening, Sally and Sonic talked to Ari, whom they had saved early from the SWAT-bots. Ari introduced himself as the leader of a freedom fighter group and explained that his comrades has been captured by Dr. Robotnik. Sally did not trust them, however, because she had never heard of the other freedom fighters group. Sonic, on the other hand, ignored Sally's warning and chose to help Ari save freedom fighters. The next day, Sally, Antoine, and Tails flew back to Rotor's workshop on Dosie's back, where they interrogate one of the SWAT bots Sally had managed to destroy the day before. From it, Sally and her friends learned that Robotnik was using Ari as a bait to lure Sonic into a trap inside Robotnik Fortress. Sally and Dorsey promptly flew to the fortress, but the door to the fortress closed before they could get inside and warn Sonic. An attempt to find a way in, Sally pulled out Nico, who disclosed that the door to the fortress was protected and could not be opened. After a while, however, the door opened and Sally and Dorsey saw Ari fly away in a hover unit. After failing to get inside the fortress, Sally and Dorsey decided to follow Ari to Robotropolis. There, They hide inside in the air duct near Robotnik war room and overhear the Ari and Robotnik conversation. Discovering that Ari had alienated himself with Robotnik in order to have his freedom fighters released, only to be betrayed by Robotnik, Sally and Dulce decide to save Ari. Entering the war room, Dulce throws Robotnik and Sniffly while Ari help beat the SWAT bots. Sally, Dulce, and Ari then flew back to the fortress, where Ari rescued Sonic before he got pulled into portal leading into the void. Although Ari ended up getting pulled into the void himself. Escaping the forces before the portal self-destructed, Sonic joined up with Sally and Dulce. Afterwards, Sally heard from Sonic that Ari had mentioned that her father had a list of all of the Freedom Fighters group out there. Sally thus decided to locate the list in order to find the other Freedom Fighters. Later, Sally and Sonic went in a mission to Robotropolis, but when they tried to leave, Sonic noticed Uncle Chuck nearby. As Sonic tried to approach his uncle, however, the Shriekbot detected him. Sonic thus took Sally and started to run away. While pursued by the Shriekbot, Sally gave Sonic a power ring, which allowed him to escape the Shriekbot. After returning to Knockout Village, Sally, Rota, and Sonic carried out a successful roboticization of Bonnie with the robotic sizer. When Sonic decided to do robotic size Chuck next, however, Sally tried to convince him to wait for them to see if the robotic size effect will last. Sonic, however, did not listen to her and brought Chuck to the knothole. When Sally and Cole tried to roboticize Chuck, though, the roboticizer overheated. Sally promptly told Nico to analyze the problem, and it turned out that they needed the replacement part for an original roboticizer. Fortunately, Sonic got the parts and Chuck was soon de-roboticized. Later, Sally and Bonnie were planning to do the roboticized more robots when Bonnie suddenly regained her mechanical parts. Sally proceeded to console the sad Bonnie, but they realized then that the same thing will happen to Chuck. Her fears were later confirmed when Chuck became a worker bot again and kidnapped Tails and Antoine. Sally, Bonnie, and Dulce tried to stop Chuck, but they were unsuccessful, and those returned to Knuckle to get Sonic's help. There, Sonic apologized to Sally for his recklessness and she forgave him. Sonic then left to catch Chuck, but they fell into a pool of Megamog and along the way. Sally, Dulce, and Bonnie soon found him Toad, and he pulled him out of the Megamog. After Sonic returned home from the rescuing Tails and Antoine, and he storing Chuck's free will permanently, Sally noticed that Sonic and Tails were sad over Chuck's decision to remain in Robotropolis and act as a Freedom Fighter spy. Sitting down with them, Sally managed to comfort them by reminding them that Chuck was now on their side and has his free will back. Sally, Bonnie, and Dulce were later waiting for the Sonic in Robotropolis. When Sally got furious at Sonic for forgetting to get the message from Chuck and instead got a chili dog toe, Sonic went in another trip and got the message. In that message, Chuck told Sally and Co. to abort the mission because Robotnik had moved the roboticizer elsewhere. Sally, Bonnie, and Dulce thus returning to a knuckle, while Sonic went to get another chili dog. When Sonic did not return, though, Sally started to get worried. After Dulce could not find Sonic either, Sally called in Dove and had him deliver a message to Chuck. She later met up with Chuck in the Robotropolis. Disguising themselves as attack bots, they checked the place where the people awaiting the roboticization were kept. While Sally and Chuck did not find Sonic there, they did find him in the company of Sniffly. As it turned out, Sonic has been affected by the memory scrambler, and Sniffly was now using a messianic Sonic to locate Knuckle. Returning to the Knuckle quickly, Sally informed everyone about Sonic's condition, except for Tails, who was on guard duty. Sally and Dulce later found Tails, but the Fox Cop had already brought Sonic into a knuckle. After they had explained everything to him, Sally eavesdropped on Sonic and learned that Sniffly had ordered him to get all of the freedom fighters in one place. Sally and her friends thus hid in an underground shelter, with Chuck joining them. There, Chuck revealed that they could restore Sonic's memory if they gave him the power ring. Sally was afraid that they could not make it to the lake rings before the next power ring emerged, but Tails managed to arrive there in time and hand to the power ring over. Sally, Tails, and Chuck soon after give it to Sonic, who has memory returned immediately after. Sonic then took care of Sniffly, who had arrived with his forces, and Sally had to Chuck cancel the Steelbot squadron Sniffly had and sent to destroy the Knuckle, with Sally guessing the correct of the keyword needed to call of the Steelbots. With Sniffly himself having been treated to the memory scrambler, Sally and Chuck went to Robotnik's headquarters and changed the location of the knuckle in the database to that of the Great Swamps. When Dr. Robotnik returned, Sally fled Sonic and Chuck. Sally and Sonic later carried out the sabotage mission in Robotropolis, but they lost two of the people in the process, which Sally blamed herself for. After returning the knuckle, Sonic suggested that they should have defeated the Robotnik before he rose the power. Upon hearing this, Dulce mentioned the Time Stones artifacts that allowed their wheels to travel across time, which resettled on floating island. Despite Sally doubt about the possibility of the time travel, she and Sonic decided to undertake his expedition. Dulce subsequently took Sonic and Sally to the floating island. Just before entering the island palace the stone gargoyles on the island came to life and attacked them. Sally and Sonic, however, lured them over the edge of the floating island by jumping off the island, causing the gargoyles to disappear. Sonic then called up Dulce, who flew both him and Sally back to the floating island. After entering the palace, Sally and Sonic overcame a maze full of stairs and found a strange door. Upon trying to open the door, however, Sally and Sonic got sucked into a whirlpool and disposed them in a spacious room. There they met the keeper of the time stones, who gave them the riddle to solve. Once Sally solved it, the heroes revived the time stones along with the instructions to think simultaneously about the time and the place they would like to go back to. Sally gave Sonic to exit the day to think about, but while thinking, Sonic accidentally thought about the chili dogs. Immediately after, the time stores took them to Mobotropolis, where the peace bot greeting them. Sally and Sonic then went out into the streets, where they saw their younger counterparts visit in the local chili dog hut. Soon after, Sonic and Sally went to see Uncle Chuck and revealed to him that Robotnik was planning to take over the city. They also learned that Robotnik had stolen the roboticizer plans from Chuck. Sally later met her younger counterpart, who had introduced herself to as Alicia, which was her middle name. After the Sonic returned from a running toad, Sally discovered that they had arrived at the day of the Robotnik coup and not a week before that as intended. After waiting for Chuck to bring in Rosie and tell her to bring the children to the knockhole in the case anything bad will happen, Sally and Sonic had an audience with the king. There, Sally made her father recognize her by pointing out her appearance, showing him the royal signature ring, and resetting her family's secret creed. Sally then informed the king that Robotnik was planning to take over. However, they were too late. Robotnik forces had already surrounded the palace, and all those are gathered in the throne room. Robotnik then revealed himself to his heroes and announced that he was taking over the Mobotropolis, which would become the Robotropolis from today. Meanwhile, young Sally will follow young Sonic to Palace with her other friends to investigate what was going on, only for the children to get captured by the SWAT bots. Despite being surrounded, Sally and Sonic managed to escape from the palace when Chuck distracted the SWAT bots. They then went to check on the children, but they could not find them. Shortly thereafter, they were arrested by the SWAT and thrown in jail. Along the way, they met their younger counterparts, whom they had to save from robotic cessation. With the help of Nico and Sally though, Sonic dug Trotz to his cell and into air duct. Then they then stopped the young robotic cessation by damaging the roboticizer so that it will take 2 hours for it to become operational again. Afterwards, they broke into Robotnik's computer and Sally downloaded the original roboticizer blueprints. However, they also learned that the destroyer was heading for the Great Forest. These events have never taken place in the original timeline and could mean that the knockout as they know in it will never exist. Sally and Sonic those had to stop 2 events from happening: the children, roboticizer, and destroyer. Having time before the roboticizer came back online, Sally and Sonic decided to stop the destroyer first. Sniffy to try to stop them, but Sally and Sonic escape him, ripping off his air in the process. Along the way, Sonic saved Sabina when these several Alpha units attack her. They then follow the destroyer. To get to ship, Sally pulled out of the power ring of Sonic. Thanks to his power, Sonic was able to launch Sally and himself from the tree trunks like a cannonball and allowed himself to land destroyer's surface. However, the SWAT bots on board had been expecting them. To make things worse, the Hoover units were approaching them. Fortunately, Sabina came to their aid, who destroyed the Hoover unit and made the destroyer crash. After the taken Sabina, Sally and Sonic returned to Robotropolis. Meanwhile, young Sally was in line for a roboticization and saw the robotic-sized Chuck. Around the same time, Sally and Sonic stumbled upon Rosie, whom they took with them. Soon after, Sonic managed to distract Robotnik and his SWAT bots, while Sally saved the children from the roboticization. The heroes fled afterwards and managed to lead Rosie and the children to the passage leading to the knockhole. Before parting with Rosie, who had gathered Sally's identity, Dodge, Sally told Rosie to never leave Knockhole, which she agreed to. This surprised Sonic, who thought that Sally did not want them to mess with the space-time continuum. When Robotnik then surrounded the heroes with his forces, they used his time stones to return to the present. Back home, Sally and Sonic learned that Rosie had never been roboticized because she had always been in the knockhole. Sally and the freedom fighters later went looking for Antoine, who had gone missing on night. Upon fighting him, Sally learned that Antoine had become the king of the nasty hyenas. Antoine offered Sally to become his queen, but Sally refused and told him to come back. However, Antoine refused to renounce his membership of the Knockhole Freedom Fighters. When Sonic decided to let Antoine be, Sally tried to convince Sonic that Antoine was worth keeping because he has a good side, although she could not come up with one. Later, Sally found out from Nico that the nasty hyenas always ate her king. Sally, Dulcie, Bonnie, and Sonic thus have saved Antoine from the hyenas. Afterwards, they listened to Antoine's story about he fought the hyenas. Sally and Bonnie later met up with Sonic and Dulcie after the latter two returned from a mission to Robotropolis. However, Sally noticed that Dulcie was acting strangely. While Sally later slept, Dolph came to her with a message from Chuck, which shocked her. Afterwards, Sally and Sonic went looking for Dulcie, who they discovered was flying towards to the Great Plain in a trance-like state. Pursuing Dulcie, Sally and Sonic saved her from some Hoover units which tried to capture her. The heroes later learned that Dulcie was hearing her mother's voice in the dreams, which told her to fly the dragon nest. Sally and Sonic learned afterwards from Nicole that adult dragons laid their eggs in the dragon nest, and that younger dragons could be caught up to look after them. Eventually, Dulcie realized what she had to do and flew to the nest, with Sally and Sonic unable to stop her. Shortly thereafter, the heroes revived a letter from Chuck, where it said that Robotnik was planning to capture the dragons in the nest. As such, Sally left with Sonic to rescue Dulcie. Thanks to the power of the Power Ring, Sonic got Sally and himself to the nest with the time to spare, only to see the Robotnik kidnap a dragon. Fortunately, it was not Dulcie. Sally and Sonic then entered the nest and saw Dulcie was taking care of the dragon egg. The heroes thus decided to take Egg with them and rescue his mother, whom Robotnik had kidnapped. While Sally flew towards in the deep canyon and Dulcie with Sonic and the egg, however, Robotnik appeared and chased after them. Fortunately, the managed to lose the doctor. After returning the knuckle, Sally, Sonic, and Dulcie left the dragon egg under the care of Bonnie. They then went to Robotopolis to stop a convoy to take the mother dragon to roboticization. With the help of the Chop, they organized a trap where they successfully managed to use the Mega Mach units against Robotnik and his SWAT bots, and to save the Mother Dragon. Sally and Co. then returned to a knockover for the egg, from which young dragons was hatched. Afterwards, the Mother Dragon thanked the heroes for everything, and they flew away with her a child to his place where Robotnik could never find them. Will Sally read about the Mandalas? Sonic came to her with a mysterious artifact that he had found in the Great Unknown. Believing this artifact to a remnant from the Mandalas, Sally thanked Sonic deeply since the artifact could help further and her research for the Mandalas. Sally and Bonnie then saw Sonic head for the Robotropolis after reviving a message from Chuck that they told him to come. Afterwards, Sally learned from Nicole that the artifact could be a forgery. Soon after, Red Angie came out from the artifact and took an entrance Sally and Bonnie away. The pair later woke up into the void, where they were integrated by the sorcerer Negus. It turns out that they needed Sonic to escape from the void, which Robotnik had imprisoned him in years ago. To lure Sonic to him, Negus promptly throws Sally and Bonnie in the crystals. He later unfolds them when Sonic arrives. Sonic did not want to help Negus, however, so he took Sally and Bonnie with him, fleeing towards the portal and leading out of the void. However, Negus got them off with imprisoning them inside in a tunnel. In response, Sonic uses Super Spin to dig them out of the tunnel to a place that resembled the King Palace. Inside the palace, Sally, Sonic and Bonnie found the king, who had seemed very ill. Wasting no time, Sally threw herself into her father's arms with tears in her eyes. Upon seeing them, the king asked Sonic to take him out of the void. The hedgehog agreed, and together with the king, Sally urged him to hurry. Sonic found the portal out of the void and took the king towards to it. Soon after, however, Sally and Bonnie and Ari and the real king, the latter who Sally recognized as a genuine article. As it turned out, the person who Sonic took out of the void was exactly Negus impersonating the king. Soon after, Sonic came back and took Sally, her father, Bonnie, and Ari out of the void. After a while, however, it turned out that the Negus and the king had returned to the void, or they would turn into dead crystal statues. Upon the instructions of her father, Sally retrieved his list of the Freedom Fighters group from his pocket. Then, as her father departed into a void again with the aid of Negus magic, Sally would begin crying. Back in the Knuckle Thoughts, Sonic comforts Sally by saying that she had at least seen her father and that Negus would think of something. Taking Sonic's words to heart, Sally began walking with Sonic. However, Sally was astonished by Nicole's behavior, as she had begun to talk like Sonic. Later, during the winter, Sally, Tails, and Bonnie escaped from their house after they saw Dulcie came crashing towards them. Ultimately, Dulcie destroyed the huts. Later, Sally and the other Freedom Fighters gathered around Antoine's hut after hearing Antoine's deranged screams and yells coming out of it. Shortly thereafter, the herds saw a huge tree collapse on the top of Antoine's hut. Soon after, Sally, Sonic, and Antoine Dulcie came to a great unknown in the search of the Freedom Fighter group known as the Wolfpack. Upon the reviving the shortest route, Nicole had two Wolfpack in the headquarters. Sonic ran ahead of his friends. Sally and Antoine tried to follow him on Dulcie, but Sonic stopped them when they approached a field with perpetual lightning storms. With the storm fields in their way, the Knockhole Freedom fighters followed the second route to Nickel point out for them. Eventually, Antoine discovered a secret underground passage by accident. Because Dulcie had a claustrophobia, though, Sonic told her to go back to Knockhole since letting her a room to great unknown alone was dangerous. Eventually, though, a nervous Antoine decided to join Sally in two tunnel as well. When the light went out, however, Sally revived a little torch from Sonic. Sally, finding themselves trapped into the tunnels, Sally told Sonic to wait, but he did not listen and began to examine different tunnels. He decided, however, to wait when it turned out that all of the tunnels led into traps. Soon after, Sally, Sonic, and Antoine met the wolf in the darkness, whom they asked to show their way out. Ultimately, the wolf took them to the trapdoor, which the trio fell out. Fortunately, the trapdoor led them into a Wolfpack headquarters. There, they met Loop, the leader of the Wolfpack, who had told them the history of the Her people and that they were being menaced by a test doomsday pod. The heroes then told him about the plan of the contact all the Freedom Fighters group so they could unite against Robotnik. Loop also showed them the weapons that the Wolfpack had stolen from Robotnik outposts, especially a defunct artillery cannon which Sally got repaired. Later, under the cover of the night, Sally and the Wolfpack rolled their cannon out of the caves to use against the Doomsday Pod. Along the way, the heroes had to hide from Robotnik Hoovercraft, which was patrolling the area. When the Doomsday Pod then approached, the Wolfpack pushes his back with their cannon. Sonic then detonates some explosives he had to set up, pouring the Doomsday Pod into rubble. However, the Doomsday Pod was soon back up and running. Immediately after, SWAT boss and Robotnik Hoovercraft, which was being plotted by Sniffly, joined the fight. Sally and Sonic promptly hide in a safe place, where Sally pulled out of a power ring for Sonic, who used his power to scatter the SWAT bots, the Doomsday Pod, and the Robotnik Hoovercraft by forming a tornado. Despite this, the Doomsday Pod continued to operate, making Sally and the Wolfpack retreat to the caves. While they went over their next move, SWAT bots managed to enter the Wolfpack's tunnels. It was then that Sally had an idea of letting her and Sonic get arrested. Handcuffed, Sally and Sonic were brought to before Sniffly. At the point, however, they turned to the tables on the Sniffly by fighting back on the breaking free from their handcuffs with the aid of Nicole. They then tied up Sniffly, and Sally took the Doomsday Pods and plans for themselves, which Sally used to come up with a plan for destroying the Doomsday Pod before fleeing. Afterwards, the heroes destroyed the Doomsday Pod by luring into a field into storm clouds, where it was destroyed by a lightning. Immediately after, Looper revealed that they had made a contact with Polo and Derek, the leaders of the Southern and the Eastern Freedom Fighters. Sally, Sonic, and Loop returned afterwards to Knockhole, where they, together with Ari, Polo, and Derek, swore that they will fight Robotnik and stop the Doomsday Project. Sally and Dulcie later flew to Robotropolis after reviving a call from Chuck. After arriving, Chuck revealed to them that the Robotnik was looking for the deep power stones at the drug hangs. Sally tried asking Nicole about the drug hang, but it was blocked from that kind of information. As it turned out, some of the nickel files has been time locked so that Sally could only access them after the reaching adulthood. Sally, however, realized that she had to wait 2 years for that, and Chuck remarked that Robotnik will surely use the deep power stones for his doomsday project. Sally and Dulcitos were looking for Sonic to tell him what they had found out, but they could not find him anywhere. Eventually, though, they saw him and Dulcie returned to a knuckle. There, Sally told Sonic everything. In response, Sonic confessed to Nico that waiting for Sally to reach adulthood did not make sense, because Sally would not live to be an adult if Robotic succeeded with his doomsday project. As such, Nico gave Sally an access to info to the Deep Power Stones. After the heroes learned that the Deep Power Stones could generate incredible power or destruction, and that the place in which they were buried was described in the Three Skulls, they decided to stop Robotnik, who had already gotten the first Deep Power Stone. For a plan to secure the other Deep Power Stone, thus brought Sonic a fake Deep Power Stone that Rota had prepared for them. Tails then wanted to take part in the mission with them, but Sally forbid him. However, Sonic convinced her to let Tails come along after promising to look after him. After arriving at the drunk hang, Sally gave Sonic Nickel so that Hedgehog could pretend to dig real deep power stone. Then, after Sonic got Robotnik's attention, Sally hid with his tails until the time came for them to cut Dulcie. When Sonic later destroyed the fake Deep Power Stone in the front of Robotnik, who believed it to be a genuine article, Sally, Tails, and Dulcie saved Sonic from Robotnik's force and took him back to the drug hang. There, Sonic dug a scroll, which allowed it to heroes to find the real or second Deep Power Stone. Although Sally thought about destroying the stones, Sonic convinced her that they should keep it since its power could come in handy. Afterwards, Sonic revealed that Tails was the one that came up with the idea for the fake Deep Power Stone. In recognition of his deed, Sally made Tails an official freedom fighter. Sally later devised a plan to sabotage Robotnik fuel tanks before they could deliver fuel to the Doomsday Machine. When Sally later went over the plans with her friends, Doof came to them with the information from Chuck, who has revealed when and where the fuel convoy will pass, and promoting to his heroes to take action. Infiltrating Robotropolis, Sonic distracted the fuel tankers guards, while Sally, Antoine, and Bonnie attacked themselves to the bottom of the fuel tankers with the magnet and the bagger filling their tanks with water. Sally managed to, however, got damaged, but Antoine managed to keep Sally hidden long enough for her to fix magnet. However, the SWAT boss soon discovered the heroes and surrounded them, but Sonic came to his rescue and managed to lead Sally and her friends to safety. After returning the knuckle, Sally gave Antoine a kiss as a thanks for his help. Later, Roto showed Sally and Bonnie a hoover unit, which he had found a great swamp, and he had the boat repaired and sewed it up. He also showed them mechanical postal pigeon and a security transporter The ladder of the rich will grant Sally and Bonnie access to all Robotnik buildings. Using both of the Hoover unit and the transporter, Sally and Bonnie went to the Doomsday Machine and got it schematics. Sally also used a snickle to describe the Robotnik top secret daily operation files, which revealed that Robotnik was into Chuck's spy work in the Robotropolis, which means that Chuck was in danger. After sending a robo-pigeon to Knockle with the piece of information, Sally and Bonnie flew to Robotropolis. There, they met Dorothy and Sonic the Latter, who had broke into Antoine's well. After the drugging of Antoine, Sonic hurried back to Chuck's hideout, only discovered that Chuck was gone. After Sonic later was saved, Chuck from the interrogation in Robotnik's headquarters, Sally and Bonnie met up with them in their Hoover unit and flew them to safety. Afterwards, Chuck took Sally and Co. to his new hideout where he has gone to continue his spy work. Sally and Bonnie also promises Chuck that they will take care of Sonic, who has said because his uncle refused to return to the knockoff with him for now. Eventually, Robotnik entirely made the Doomsday Project. Sally thus sent the mechanical postal pigeons to the leaders of the other freedom fighters groups so that they could assemble. With the help of Nicole, Sally then analyzed the Doomsday Machine for Sonic, revealing that the machine could produce the hundreds of the Doomsday parts every hour and send them across the entire planet. After Ari, Loop, Polo, and Derek arrived, the heroes took action. While Sonic, Sally, and Bonnie and Antoine snuck into a Doomsday Machine based by hunting underneath fuel tanker, Loop, Ari, Polo, and Derek created a diversion in the sky. With the gods of this track, Sally and her team uses metal-eating balloon to create a breach into the Doomsday Machine. Thus do they enter it. Inside the Doomsday Machine, Sonic came across a corridor where the two electricity generating the robots attacking him. As they chases Sonic around, Sally warned Sonic that they were attacked in his movements. Unfortunately, Sonic managed to destroy them. Later, Sally and her friends reached the Doomsday Pod factory. There, Sally failed to contact the other freedom fighters. With the group of realizing that their allies has been catch, Sonic decided to destroy the Doomsday Machine himself. Sally wanted to stay with him, but Sonic persuaded her and her friends to flee to the safety in the Doomsday Pod. Before separating, however, Sally gave Sonic Nicole to assist him. Sally later met up with Chuck, Tails, and Dulcie in the Great Unknown. Soon after, Sonic returned to them, but revealed that he had failed to destroy the Doomsday Machine. It was then that Chuck suggested that they use the power of the Deep Power Stone to destroy the Doomsday Machine. While Sonic left to get the second stone from Robotnik, Sally helped Chuck and located an underground tunnel thus west to the Doomsday pods were being sent. After Sonic came back with the Deep Power Stone, Sally came with him to the side of the Doomsday Machine. There, Sally decided to stay with Sonic until the end, which Sonic immediately agreed to. They then dug into a tunnel only for the Doomsday Pod attacked them. Fortunately, Sonic destroyed him with the last metal-eating balloon. Sally and Sonic then made their way to the Doomsday Machine generator. However, Sally began the fear of unleashing the destructive potential of the Deep Power Stones could destroy the planet. Sonic thus decided that they should use the deep Power Stones to unlock the stones and limitless energies. Sally promotedly told Nico to analyze the effect of the shots of a move. Well, Nico revealed that there was a probability of the danger occurring when the unlocked shot's power. Sally and Sonic agreed it was worth of the risk. As SWAT bots surrounded them, Sally and Sonic joined the stones together, obtaining the power equal to that of the 1,000 power rings. Sally and Sonic destroyed the Doomsday Machine together. In the aftermath, Robotnik disappeared. The heroes then return to the Knuckles together, where they celebrate the fall of Robotnik. At the end, Sally and Sonic shared a passionate kiss. Sally is intelligent, smart, confident, deliberated, and mature. She possesses a meticulous and no-nonsense personality and prefers to be concentrated and conscientious. She is likewise strong-minded, guided by logic, and focused, preferring to plan ahead of the situation before taking action. She possesses as well as a loving devotion to her people and her friends. Her attitude stems from his childhood due to the strict upbringing of learning the etiquette, royal studies, and the family credo. Most of the time, she prides herself on her intellect and her leadership skills. Whenever she feels stressed out, she consults Bonnie to banish her frustration. In spite of being a princess and proud of her title and heritage, Sally is very down to the earth and dislikes being treated any differently from the rest of her friends. She has a pride in her intellectual prowess and leadership skills that revives Sonic's pride in himself, however, and evil. She tends to boast about herself. She can be ordinary and easily frustrated when conflicting with another. Ultimately, though, she is only concerned for the team's well-being and shows extra concern for Sonic. Sally also dislikes when men compete for her affection. In the end, though, she chooses Sonic, who is the close to her heart, and despite the fact that annoys her with his confidence and recklessness. As heir to the throne, Sally is characterized by having a great leadership skills and a knack of planning furious sabotage acts against Dr. Robotnik, possessing a sharp and analytic mind as well. Sally possesses a high intellect and knows her way around the furious form of the technology. Namely, she knows how to access the various forms of the necessary information on the computers and can hack nearly any system. And as a testament to her intellect, Sally can even find voracious solutions to very interactive problems. Sally is also talented acrobat and usually landing too smoothly on the ground from the great height. Sally possesses Nico and a high advantage and functional computer with varieties of functions at her disposal. With her, Sally possesses a wealthy information at her fingertips. She can also use Nico to hack voracious machinery and computers. Sally's friendship with Sonic the Hedgehog is a conflicted one, since Sonic antagonizes Sally due to her slowness, while she tries to improve his mannerisms. Sonic was offered the endless source of the neurosens for Sally, who had called be very sardonic and confrontational with his opportunistic and rebellious attitude, which contrasts her extremely meticulous and no-nonsense personality. However, she never misses a chance to get smart with him, which instead annoys Sonic. Orangely, this was sometimes played against her, leading her to self-righteously refuel Sonic on the fly method and sometimes cause problems in her bull-headedness about her planning. Over the time, however, her personality is calm and analytical, where she is usually portrayed as more level-headed and tactful than Sonic, and often the required to bail him out when his recklessness get him into trouble. Despite their constant bickering, however, they do the best as a team. Sally is the only one who harbors romantic feelings towards Sonic. There have been some instances where Sonic and Sally flirt with each other. Eventually, after the Doomsday Project's failures, she and Sonic shared their first true love kiss. So, that is all for now. I hope you all enjoyed the history of the Sonic character that you learned about. And for the next time, on Friday, I read the next character history. So, have a nice day and enjoy your day. Laterzzz Thunderbolts. Bye.